Okay, so making a seamless texture is not too difficult. I'm going to be using GIMP, which is freely available for anyone to use, so it creates a nice level playing field. This can be done in Photoshop. I don't know about other programs, but I would assume so. It's just you're going to have to find the controls. Okay, so first of all here, we're going to offset this texture. You can see it has kind of a lot of color variance here, which is not ideal for a texture, but we are going to work with it. So go up here to Layer, Transform, and then Offset. And what this is going to do is it's basically going to slide the texture like a conveyor belt along and let us see where the seam is. So I'm going to do offset 2 by 2. Basically that makes it exactly in the middle. And click OK. Okay, so now we see the seams that we've got with this texture. And the next tool we're going to use is actually the clone tool, which is the stamp right here. That enables you to clone an area by pressing and holding Control, and then to lay down that area by just clicking the mouse button. So we can start getting rid of this line here. It's something that is kind of just up to your eye and what you think looks good as far as trying to get the colors to match or to not match, how much you should do a shift like this here. Do I want to try to lighten into the dark or darken into the light? I think in this case I will actually darken into the light. So we'll kind of just take this and move it along. That looks nice. Kind of try to just get the texture to align properly and look like it's seamless. Alright, so here's kind of a big crack. So again, I'm going to hit Control up there, and then I'm going to let the crack continue for a little bit here. And then we'll kind of end it. So I'm just going to go along and continue doing this. Alright, so you can see we're already starting to create a seamless seam on the texture. So come down here. Alright, now this is kind of a darker area. So we'll kind of do that. Now this presents a problem. I think I'm going to actually come over to this side and kind of try to use this cup to make this look seamless, like so. You can see that already looks better. Okay, I'll just kind of get rid of that there. Maybe bring this dark a little bit farther down. And you can see already that we're kind of getting seamless. If you want to kind of go halfsies, you can turn the opacity down. Like here, this is kind of still a sharp transition. So now it's only going to add 50%. So you can kind of see that is making a cleaner transition for us. And now that looks much more natural. Okay, so continuing over here, we will just continue to do what we're doing. Turn the opacity back up. And work on making the texture seamless. Let's see, I think I'll take that crack there, kind of give a little bit to that. Okay, maybe a little bit of a darker area here. Okay. And you can see we've pretty much eliminated that line already. Now, this is where having a texture that has variation in color across it like this becomes kind of a problem, because this is a hard seam to get rid of. Basically, kind of all you can do is mess with it and see what you can come up with that you like. So I'm going to grab this down here and maybe try to add a little bit by bit, and kind of make it feel like the edge So I just keep grabbing from different areas on the texture. Again here, let's kind of transition this in. So we'll do opaque 50% and opaque 40% and make it look like it just fits. Okay, so that actually doesn't look too bad at all. So now I've gotten rid of 2 of our 4 seam lines. I'm just going to continue doing this and come back at you in a second. Okay, so here we've got all the lines removed. You can see that the difference between the dark and the light side of the texture has kind of made it have its own sort of quote-unquote seam. But this being a tree bark, it's going to go around a cylinder. It probably will look okay. So now if we want to check and make sure that everything looks good on the other axes, we can go again and offset it. Again, do it by half. And we can see there is a possibility if you are cloning right up to the very edge with the clone tool, it might create a little cross line here. I was careful to avoid that, so that didn't happen. And we've got our texture. We can now resize it or anything we want to put it into the engine. I'm going to leave it at the size it's at, and we're going to save it. So I'm going to call this AT Wood 01, and we're going to make it a PNG. So we'll export that. And then we can go into Slade here and into our PK3 file, go into the textures directory and import a file and find our wood texture and put it in right there. Now you can see this is a large texture, so it also is taking up a lot of space. Now there is one other thing we can do to try to reduce that, and that is to change the texture from being 24-bit down to being an 8-bit texture. So let's go back here and go up to image mode and then index and create a palette for this texture out of a custom palette out of what it sees. Now if you look, you can hardly see any difference. It still looks like it's 24-bit color, but it's only using 8-bit color data. So if we export that again and go over to Slade and import over it, we go from 1.75 megabytes down to 593 kilobytes. So that's going to save a lot of space as you're working. Alright, then all you have to do is go here to Graphic, add to Texture X. That will put it into the texture list. And then we can go in here and do any modifications we want to the file, such as shrinking it. Right now it's 1000 by 667. If you want to make a high-res texture, you can put 2 here, and now it'll cover a wall half the size but be twice the detail. And you can just keep going with that and make it smaller and smaller and more high resolution. For something like tree texture like this, you're probably going to want high detail, so you're probably going to want to at least put it 4 by 4. And then to make it easy for the program to create seamless textures or seamless line defs, so that the texture is aligned on the line defs, you can go and click the world panning, and that will make the texture basically move as if it's a low-res texture, so it's easier to manipulate within the world engine. So now we're happy with that, so we will save it and save that, and then we can go into Doom Builder and take a look at our texture. So I'm just going to open the map I'm working on because that is all I have loaded right now. And then let's just take this and replace it with our new texture. And there you go. It's turned that marble column into a tree. And that's how you do it. So, alright, hope this was helpful. Take care.